Welcome to How I Beat in association with William Hill, where Skye Nicolson and Darren Barker discuss how Skye was able to beat her last opponent, Lucy Wildheart, for the WBC Interim World title. Take it away, guys.
Right, Skye, the Lucy Wildheart performance was, in my opinion, and I'm not just saying this because you're here, almost punch perfect. And something that we agree on quite a bit is the importance of sort of relying and not forgetting your amateur pedigree. What worked so well as an amateur for you? Talk to me about how you used that sort of style, if you like, or that ground and that foundations in that fight in the early stages.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's all about using my strengths, which is my timing, controlling of the distance. Obviously, I had a physically, probably naturally bigger opponent in front of me this time round in Wildheart. She had quite a long jab, long arms. So it was just all about gauging that distance, that timing, making sure I'm keeping that outside foot advantage.
But another thing you do, you're talking about the outside foot advantage, you do vary your movement. You won't just go one way all the time, you'll go both directions. And I think you're learning already in the pro ranks that you can't be predictable in boxing. You have to vary up your attacks and certainly your defense and your movement. Talk to me about your I guess your feet and how important they are to your style of boxing.
Yeah, I feel like I don't want to be labelled a one-trick pony, so I'm not always moving the way that I guess southpaws are, expected to move. I feel like when I have the outside foot advantage, I have a lot of success with the lead hook and just jabbing over the top of their lead hand. But I do like to surprise them. I like to switch it up. I like to come around with the left hand on the other side as well. I'm quite good at reading their right hand coming across and timing my left hand over the top of that as well.
And then you'll slip on the outside of that and then you'll throw your left over.
Exactly, here or here.
Because you're basically, and I've said this a few times when I describe being on the outside of someone, against Wildheart, you did this on occasions. You're almost in a safe zone there.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult for them Wildheart to throw the shot back over.
Exactly.
So
I have them commit to the right hand.
Yeah.
And make them pay for it. Here.
That's it.
Here.
And then for me then, if I'm Wildheart and I go to throw the shot back, you've just got all the time in the world to see it coming.
Exactly.
And then also with that variation of the jab, you said you like to be on the outside, and I used to like doing this, the flip side to you against southpaws. Get on the outside, and then that allows you to get the right hand through the middle, in your case, the left hand. So how important is it to have that foot on the outside? It just gives you that position, right, to get that left hand through the middle?
I feel like I throw my lead hand probably twice as much as my left, maybe 3 times as much. So for me, this is where I want to be. Coming over the top, going underneath, always keeping them thinking. It's not always like a stinging shot, but it's my measuring stick. So for me, like that's the biggest part of the control in my distance, my timing, is constantly having them thinking, is she going to jab down? Is she going to jab up? And just keeping them exactly where I want them in terms of how far apart we are.
Yeah. And so at what point in that fight do you sort of start saying to yourself, right, I'm going to start stepping this up a little bit, because you're so switched on early doors. It's like, I'm not going to make a mistake. And that is so important. No need early in a contest. And then all of a sudden, something just goes off. There's like a light bulb that just switches and you're like, right, I'm going to get to work now. At what point was that in the contest?
I feel like I am a patient fighter. I did try to start this fight in particular a little bit quicker, because I know that she would have been studying my fights. She's probably studied and seen that I am a slower starter. I like to warm up into the fight. So I did come out straight away, came straight in with a left hand to the body, which is just something that she wouldn't have seen before, which I think worked. I got to set the pace, and I felt like the opening rounds, I was basically just getting my distance, getting my timing right, and getting a feel for what Wildheart could bring and what she had. And then it was about probably round 5 where I had my light bulb switch. I started sitting down on my shots more, standing my ground. I like to control the fight from the center of the ring. Anytime that I do feel backed up, I tend to change that around quite quickly and be back where I like to be, in the center of the ring. I felt like there were moments where I hurt her in the 5th round. In reflection, it was a little bit frustrating watching it back, because I felt a few more punches in that round and I probably could have done it then.
But I guess in some ways that shows the heart and the desire from Wildheart to try and respond and show you something, to show that she's still in the fight.
Of course, like, respect her. She came and came and came. She was definitely being told by her corner to keep the pressure, keep the pace, make me work. But again, that kind of falls into my hands as well, because when I've got the momentum of her coming at me, it's perfect for me. Once I've got my timing, my distance, I know what she's going to do. I see it coming. I read the shots.
There's that, you spoke about it a moment ago, we both did, about that light bulb moment. Try and explain that, because I've had that in a lot of fights, and it could happen early, and it could happen mid-fight, it could happen at the end, but all of a sudden, something just goes off. It's like, you're not beating me.
Yeah.
Was there a moment in that fight where you thought that was happening? Was it that 5th round?
I would say round 5.
Yeah.
For me, I always find round 1 is a good storyteller for me of how the fight's going to go. But sometimes I do have a slow start as well. So I don't make that a rule of winning the first round wins the fight, but I feel like I can tell a good story of how this fight's going to go based off that first 2 minutes.
Yeah, it's a little bit, the early stages of a contest is like collecting data. So you're just soaking it all up, and then all of a sudden, like you say, that 5th round comes, you've got all the components you need to then let your solution to your opponent go. Was you in any way surprised or underwhelmed or impressed by Wildheart in any way? Or did the fight go exactly how you thought it would?
For me, the fight went exactly how I knew it would. I was impressed by Lucy Wildheart in her previous outing against Michaela Mayer. I think she showed a lot in that fight that I didn't really expect. So when she went into that fight up at, I think it was at lightweight, on a day's notice against a pound-for-pound top 10 fighter, she impressed me. She stole a few rounds off Mayer as well. So I definitely didn't underestimate her going into the fight, but I also knew my style would be all wrong for her. And on the flip side of that, her style is perfect for me as well.
One of, if not your most satisfying victories?
Yeah, I'd say it was. I feel like as a professional, that was probably the most impressive win on paper, but I know there's so much more. So I'm very excited for, I guess, the future fights that lie ahead. But for now, yeah, I would say it was one of my most satisfying wins.
Well, you talk about future fights. You've been ordered to fight. Tell us about your opponent and that fight with Wildheart. What confidence will you take from that into this fight?
Yeah, so I've obviously been ordered for the world title. I'm fighting a Danish girl, Sarah Marfood. She's only got the 1 loss on her record to Serrano, which she did steal 3 rounds against Serrano as well. So I know she's no easy beat, this girl. She's won nearly every round of her whole pro career in 15 fights. So I'm excited. I'm really excited. I've said it from the start. The better the opponent, the better the Skye Nicolson. So.
Right. In case she's watching, don't give too much away.
Yeah.
But tactically, what would a simple, so we don't give too much away, a simple game plan against her be?
So for me, I find this fight, this opponent is quite similar to Wildheart in a lot of ways. She's quite a tall, orthodox featherweight, a more boxer style than a brawler. Not overly aggressive. I would probably say Wildheart's more aggressive, but she does throw a lot of punches when she does punch. She kind of looks to counter a little bit more. For me, I'm going to be looking at up and down.
Variation with the jab.
Variation with the jab, definitely. Again, those first few rounds, critical data collecting. For me, I think the left hand to the body is going to be very...
And when you say the left hand to the body,
yes.
More of a screw or a straight shot?
I think screw shot for me.
Yeah.
Go
all right,
orthodox
so
for me.
Orthodox.
Yeah. I think this shot right here.
Yeah. All right, you're testing that out. I've been beside you. Careful.
Is going to be very effective against her, and also she brings her chin up on her way out. So she'll come with a flurry of punches, and she comes out with her chin high. So I think for me, there's going to be a left uppercut and jabs there to catch her on her way out after an attack. Definitely.
And one thing is for sure, I'm pretty sure we'll see plenty more smiles for
Always.
Skye Nicolson in
Always.
that contest?
Honestly, I feel like boxing's such a mental thing as well. And I mean, I haven't really had opponents smiling at me in a fight, but I can't imagine I would like it. But I just have so much fun in there. And when everything's working, I'm in my groove, the timing's there, I'm setting shots up, they're walking into my traps. It's so satisfying.
The only thing is now, if you're not smiling, your opponent's going to think, I've got her. There's no smile. So you're going to, even if you're getting battered, you're going to have
I've got to
to
just keep smiling, just smile through the pain. No, for me, like, I feel like when I'm smiling, I'm having
You're in your
fun.
flow.
I'm in my flow state, and things just work. So if you see me smiling, you know it's happening.
So the goal, the dream, you got your crystal ball, the end of 2024. Skye Nicolson is
Undisputed featherweight champion of the world.
Right, I thought I'd leave you to just to the technical side. Didn't want to show anyone up, so I thought I'd leave you to that. But based on what you said and what you talked about, Skye, you mentioned, the world title fight coming up and the opponent is very similar to Wildheart. Does that give you confidence based on how well you performed in the last fight?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like there's always room for improvement. There's always things that I can do better. So I think another 10 weeks in camp, we're going to see an even better version of me again. So I'm very, very excited for the challenge ahead.
Is there any specifics that you're going to be changing up through this training camp?
I mean, I think for me, it's again, don't change what's working. So we're definitely not looking to change or stop doing the things that are working for me, but just constantly adding new little bits to the game all the time, trying new things in sparring and using what works to add to my game.
Yeah, and Darren, right at the beginning, you said her last performance was almost punch perfect. It was the perfect performance. Do you think that, that bodes well going into a world title?
Oh, absolutely. Preparation is key in this sport, and if you can have an opponent that replicates your next opponent in it, an even bigger, more significant fight, then it's only going to help and bode you well. So, yeah, she's also in safe hands. Got a brilliant team, brilliant boxer, uses the fundamentals so well, and no doubt we'll have Skye Nicolson as a world champion by the end of the year.
Big year ahead. But that is how I beat.